So this is the optimistic realist MD, Dr. James Leu.
I'm Mr. Nick Link.
To start off, just want to thank everybody who has supported our project from last week about sending us pictures signifying your last grateful moment or just any grateful moment. I think we've received a lot of positive comments about it. I received a comment that just thinking about the subject, just thinking of finding something to represent your last grateful moment, just made them feel very grateful. Mm-hmm. And I think that gives them a moment to just reflect on the happy times.
And to realize that there's more happy times to come, So
Right. So that was the whole point of doing the project. The whole point of the project is to bring a little bit of joy in this difficult period, which we're all optimistically hoping will end soon.
Yes.
But yeah, and I think to come out of it stronger is again to focus on the positive things and not so much on the negative things.
Exactly. And that's what our episode's about today, because we know that coming out of this thing, things aren't going to go back to how they were. But as you and I were discussing, I think there's going to be a lot of good changes that are going to be made.
Right.
And actually, what triggered this topic was my therapist actually sent me a quote from Brené Brown that just kind of hit home to me. And then I sent it to Dr. Leu, and, I think kind of hit home in certain areas for you too. And that's just what we wanted to discuss. So.
Yeah. So for viewers out there who don't know who Brené Brown is, she's definitely more famous than we are.
Way famous.
Got many books, New York Times top-selling books on, and I think her background, I think she said was a social worker. Mm-hmm. And about 10 years ago, she also gave a TED Talk on the importance of courage and vulnerability. I think it's probably one of the most watched TED Talks.
I haven't seen it yet. Check it out. It's really good. It's short. It's only 10 minutes, but she hits home at a lot of good points.
Right. So I guess we'll start out with this quote that was sent to you. I don't know if you want to read it to the viewers.
You're making me read out loud?
Yes.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's because I'm not the teacher. I can't read.
You're probably better than I am, even though I'm a teacher. All right, so what she says was, we will not go back to normal. Normal never was. Our pre-corona existence was not normal, other than we normalized greed, inequality, exhaustion, depletion, extraction, disconnection, confusion, rage, hoarding, hate, and lack. We should not long to return, my friends. We are being given an opportunity, stitch a new garment, one that fits all of humanity and nature. So, do you want to start, or do you want me to start?
This quote has sort of reinforced what we suspected all along. We had multiple discussion about this. Mm-hmm. About how this whole isolation period gives us a chance to reflect back on our lives, on ourselves. Mm-hmm. Seeing really help us reinforce what is important. Things that are extraneous, things that could have been done better. Mm-hmm. And it's
like purpose to be. That's another big thing too.
Right. And I think in the end is you just get to realize, what you're doing in our daily lives, what's important, what's not important. And the hope is that we all come out of this realizing that and making some positive changes to our lifestyle to reflect it.
Yep. I feel like we actually, as a human race, needed this to happen, because it was just, I don't know, like even I'm realizing after this is that I was working way too much, and I was doing a lot of stuff I enjoyed, but I was working 2-3 days after school. I was working Saturdays and Sundays, and I mean, it wasn't all day, but it was, all week. And I was getting exhausted. And part of me was just, well, I mean, my teaching job I just love because it just gives me so much purpose and it's very fulfilling and rewarding. As I'm sure you feel similar because you're helping your patients out. And I can never be involved in a career that's just about me making money. I need to feel like I'm providing a service and service to society, you know, like even though I have like 130 students, if I could reach like 5 of them, like that's what drives me. That's my purpose, you know? And this time off has just really made me not only really miss teaching, but realize that that's what I want to do. And that's why we started this podcast up to hopefully get our word out there and to help more people. And it's just, I can never have a job that didn't involve helping society in some way. And this time off really made me realize that more. Like I'm stressing and struggling with doing this virtual teaching. It's not working as good as in-person teaching, but like other teachers aren't stressing, but I am because I really care about it and want my kids to do well. I think I told you the other day, I found out that my kids are still taking one of the AP exams, and I was told that it weren't going to be. So now I'm like, oh, I got to figure out a way to get this content, you know, to them in a less watered down manner. And I brainstormed and I figured out something, and it's got me motivated, you know, so because I want to help them. So yeah, so that's like one thing it kind of showed. I kind of learned from this whole situation.
Even for me too, is interestingly, I was just telling my wife the other day, of the 12 years that I've been practicing these past few weeks, I've actually been happy. There's just a lot less distraction, and for the first time, I actually feel like I'm in the present. I'm feeling happy. Um, I'm not crushed with all the administrative work that I usually have at work. And when I tell when I tell my staff this is, a lot of them don't really believe me, as I tell them, look, I spend basically 18 hours a day in front of a computer all day,
Yeah.
and that's on top, and of course that's also including the time that I spend seeing patients. But the time I spend seeing patients is a minority of time of the day that I actually spent doing work. Because the rest of the day, I'm in front of the computer, I'm charting, I'm filling out paperwork, I'm going through thousands of blood tests, and it's just every day there's just this looming cloud over you, and you feel like this crushing weight on your shoulder. So
Mm-hmm.
so even when I go on vacations, a lot of times I think my kids can feel it, is that I'm not present because I have these 10 million things in my mind that I'm thinking of that I have to get done and I have to do. Even on weekends, I used to work on weekends. When I first started my practice, I used to do full day private practice, 5 days a week. On top of that, I used to round on 3 different hospitals, and that also includes the weekends. I used to round on hospitals on the weekends. But as my kids get older, I decided that I want to be more present. But the problem now is, even though I don't have active office hour time on the weekend, is I'm still not present for them
Yeah.
because I still have all this work I have to get done. And for the viewers out there that have seen the interview I had with my daughter, towards the end she mentioned that I'm always on my computer doing my thingy.
And she was wearing pajamas. That's important.
Right. That is pajamas. but, but it makes you realize is that they know these things. They realize these things, that even when you're physically present, you're not mentally present for your family.
Yeah.
Um, and that's something that's been consistent for, I would say, the past 12 years, and then these past few weeks I've been able to get out of work a little bit earlier. I've been having dinner with my family, which I usually only get to do on the weekends.
Mm.
Well, that's a big positive. I enjoy sitting there. We eat, we talk.
Yeah.
Actually having a real discussion. Um, just being more present. When doing things with my kids. Like yesterday, I sat and I watched a movie. Watched one of the cartoons with my daughter.
Hmm.
And, that's something I haven't done in a while. Because usually when I'm watching cartoons with her, I either have my laptop on the side,
Yeah.
I'm like
Yeah.
doing work, I'm looking at my email, I'm looking, to do things on the side.
Yeah.
And
I
like,
actually like I had a similar experience with that too because I mean I live alone, I'm single, but even when I watch movies now during the day, it's been like I'm like a huge Marvel movie fan, so it's I've seen these movies so, but when I watch them now, I'm just fully like focused and I'm picking up these details that I never had before because like I would be on my phone, like like constantly uh, answering emails for like other little side gigs that I have, and
right.
it's not like that anymore. And it's yeah, that's an excellent point. It's little things like that I'm realizing.
Well, it's like, watching a movie, it's having the movie in the background as background noise.
That's what it used to be for me. Now that I'm actually watching it, wow, this is great. But even like reading too, I'm able to sit down and like a bunch of books I'm reading, and I used to not be able to focus that long, and I could just read for like an hour now and be like, wow, I never used to be able to, because I would always be thinking about the next thing I have to do,
Right.
and like I mean, just for example, I was doing like with teaching, I was also advising the astronomy club. I was tutoring 2 days a week at school. After school, I was private tutoring 1 day a week, and I was running the GED exams. And that was 2 weekends a month. All right. But I also had to do it at the jail, which like every other month was another 2 weekends. And I just realized next year I'm just gonna do one extra thing, and that's it. And I'll probably do the GED thing because I could schedule my own hours. It's flexible, and it's funny because I used to think that like I need to do all this stuff because I'm young and I have the energy, and like it's just to save up the money. Well, might as well do it. And I think you remember about 2 months ago we started talking. I was like, yeah, about like 6 o'clock, I just crash. And you're like, well, you do wake up at 5 a.m. and it's true. But even now, like I'm still waking up early, but even at night, I'm not like energized, like I still can fall asleep fine, but I'm not like crashing. And I really think it was because I was just taking on too much. My coaches would always say, like, they're like, why do you work so much? I was just like, because I can. And like now I'm realizing I want to enjoy like my time, and like I put a lot of work into my house. I want to enjoy my house, and little things like going for walks and nature and just
Hmm.
other things to life besides working all the time.
Right.
And I think as a society, especially Americans, we're always go, 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 work, 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 and very impatient. They want things done like yesterday. And I think part of me was kind of like that. And this has really slowed me down and just made me focus on like, the bigger picture type things.
I think this is how we're brought up. I was brought up in a pretty traditional Chinese household, and everything is gauged according to success. So from a young age on, everything you did had a purpose. Okay,
Yeah.
everything you did is to get you to the next stage of life. Okay, so going through elementary school, your goal is to get the best grade so you can go to the best junior high, go to the best high school. After high school, get into the best college you can, and then from there get into, for me, getting into medical school and getting into and then going into a medical career. So so it's like, from early on in life is that you were sort of conditioned. I was conditioned that everything you do is for a purpose.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you see,
And
so
everything you need to do is to get to the next level.
right. Even any extracurricular activities you do, you don't do extracurricular activities just to have fun. You're doing extracurricular activities to be able to get you into your next goal in life. But then you start realizing is, well, there's there's never, and I mentioned this in my interview with Dr. Luna too, is I think that belief that you're always working to get to the top. I always think that the top is a fallacy. There's no such thing as a top.
And it's
Like,
funny. When I used to read these books when I was like in college, they were saying like, you always want to keep reaching for the next level, like we were just saying, but then that means you're never going to be satisfied with your life, you know? So there's like two sides to the coin. And I mean, I used to live that way and believe that. And now like I'm not. It's like where I'm at, like I want to just start slowing down and enjoying like I used to actually work a lot as a distraction because I thought I would get really anxious by myself. And I've been by myself a lot these last 4 or 5 weeks, and I'm okay with it. I actually like it, and it's this whole like has made me realize this. And I've always been, if I was given something I need to do, I wanted it done yesterday. That's the kind of type of person I was. And I'd be like 150% until it's done. I mean, I'm still kind of like that when I have a task, but I was taking on too many tasks. So now I know I just need to, not overextend myself, which I think you can definitely relate to, and most Americans still do as well.
yeah.
So this slows us down as a nation, especially New York. God, it's crazy.
Well, and you can see the impact of uh, uh, of this virus on our current day society, especially if you have a society that's built on greed and materialistic wealth, and that your goal is to achieve as much materialistic wealth as you can. Well, you can see how big of an impact that having this virus could be, because now everything is shut down and
Yeah.
businesses are shut down, stock markets are tanking. You concentrate too much on one purpose, which I think with Brené Brown's quote is that if you concentrate too much on just greed and materialistic wealth,
Which a
and
lot
now
of
that's
people do.
gone,
Yeah.
right? And all of a sudden that's gone, then you feel like you don't, all of a sudden you've gone from having everything to almost having nothing.
Yeah.
And this is why it's very important to start building on other equities, if you want to put it in that sense. Other equities that you can um, as something to fall on
Hmm.
if everything else is not working. In the finance world, this is called diversifying. so 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 it's like diversifying your emotional tolls. Okay,
Yeah.
you can't.
Yeah.
Right.
Telling you my therapist gave me about like, he views life as building your mosaic, and like you may feel like you have one sole purpose, like I teaching, so I feel like it's one of my sole purposes, but I feel like there's other things that I can do that'll like nourish my mind or just give me satisfaction, and like other hobbies, that just make you happy, and you need to build on that and just kind of build your mosaic and not just focus on that one thing, because if that one thing goes, you're gonna be lost, and so no, it's a good point. Yeah.
I think for both of us, I think we've come to some realization during this period of time of what's important, and
Yep.
and
Yep.
and changing a career. I mean, starting this podcast, for example, I thought of starting this months ago, okay,
Mm-hmm.
but I never did start it because I was afraid of, if I start putting out these opinions in public, what would other people think about it, or I don't know. The comments that we will be receiving. I don't know if it's going to be good or bad. Yeah, but now I'm just like, well, I'm just going to put it out there. We'll see what happens.
That's that's vulnerability right there, right? So you're worried about it be good or bad, but you just got to do it sometimes, like,
Yeah.
yeah, that's really a good point about life. It's just everyone's vulnerable, and you just got to know that, but kind of do it anyway.
I guess the biggest thing is we don't know how long this is going to last. which I think that uncertainty itself causes anxiety. But I think if we
And
all, yeah, but I think if we all can just slow down and just focus on the present,
yeah,
focus on things that you can do now, um, it is going to take that edge off.
yeah,
And getting that into the mindset that whatever is going to happen tomorrow is going to happen.
hmm
You have no control over it. Uh,
hmm
they said multiple times, CDC is that the virus will have its own timeline. It's
hmm
something that humans can really control what the timeline of the virus is. So if you keep anticipating that end date and it keeps getting stretched further and further and further, that's going to induce more and more anxiety.
and depression too. Because if you're
Right.
like, oh, by May 15th, things are going to go back to normal. When we get to May 15th and things aren't normal, I mean, that's when depression starts kicking in. I think there was actually, my therapist told me there was a study done on prisoners, and they were told that, by Christmas, they were all going to be released, and then Christmas came and then passed, and then they studied the rates of depression, and like, I think it went up by like 80% or something like that. So picking a date when this is all going to end and hoping for that, I don't think is a good idea. You just kind of got to take one day at a time and do what you can.
Mhm. Yeah, and just really just focusing on things you can do.
Yeah, things you can control and things you can't, just accept.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
All right. So, but it's always fun. Like I said
yeah,
it's
can't
always
wait to
fun.
see it in
Always
person.
fun focused on the present,
Yeah,
having a discussion with you.
yeah, likewise. Yeah. If you have any questions or topics you want us to discuss, definitely email us those too, because we would love to address any questions or topics that you think you'd be interested in. Let's talk about.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Enjoy your day.
To Doctor, always a pleasure.
All right.
Go be
Take care.
present.
Sure.
You too. Bye.